Tom Thwaites.
Oh man, that is beautiful.
Is the man who makes things from scratch.
Yeah, look at that. That is metal.
He's an inventor who takes raw materials from the ground
Check it out.
and turns them into his version of the mass-produced objects we can't live without.
It's working!
His creations are so unique they are on show in museums across the world.
I want to get to grips with the extraordinary technology that surrounds us, but we just take for granted.
In this series, Tom is facing a new challenge.
Ah, it's hot! Yes, yes!
Can he make 4 everyday items using only raw materials from the UK
Look at that!
and his own handiwork?
I can do it.
Revealing the story
Whoa.
of our industrial heritage,
Ding!
hidden in the simplest of objects. This week, Tom Thwaites is attempting to make a hover mower from scratch. It's the biggest challenge he's ever faced. A hovercraft flies 4mm off the ground and, thanks to a spinning blade, trims the lawn.
There are parts from all over the globe. This machine is a truly global citizen. I mean, it's more well-travelled than me, or I would say most people. Clearly, this is now an ex-hover mower. I've taken it apart and laid it out like this to get beneath this smooth plastic shell, and the array and complexity is really quite astounding. So that powerful motor is spinning this blade at 5,000 RPM, and that is as fast as the blades on a jet engine on a passenger jet. So this is made of acrylonitrile butadiene styrene, and this is made of polypropylene, 2 different types of plastics, but what they have in common is they're both very durable, but also very lightweight. This is an impeller, and although it's quite an alien-looking thing, it's actually in everything from a washing machine to a fridge, anything that needs to pump air or fluid around. And the way it works is it draws the air or fluid in here and then forces it out the sides at high speed. And well, in this case, it's what makes the hover mower hover.
To keep things simple, Tom is going to focus on just 3 key components. A specialised fan, called an impeller, that provides all the lift by sucking air into the device and creating a cushion of air that it can float on. A spinning steel blade to cut the grass, and a case that's light enough to take off, yet strong enough to save his legs from flying debris.
So obviously this is insanely complex, and if I was going to make all of these parts from scratch, I'd probably need 3 or 4 lifetimes. So I'm just going to have to focus on the key components.
Ready for liftoff, Tom is heading for Scotland and a completely deserted beach to make from scratch the impeller that his mower needs if it's ever to get off the ground.
So what are we doing? So we're going to do some sand casting.
Sand casting works by creating an imprint that molten metal can be poured into. It's the oldest metalworking technique in the world. First discovered in Mesopotamia 6,000 years ago, but is incredibly still used to make car engine blocks and alloy wheels.
The story goes, when Napoleon had guests for dinner, the important guests would get gold cutlery, but the really important guests would get aluminium cutlery, because aluminium, it was rarer than gold. It was just this wonder material, and now we use it as cans.
It takes Tom 3 hours to get his homemade furnace cooking at 660 degrees Celsius. The temperature, aluminium turns liquid.
That is molten aluminium. That is a little bucket of molten aluminium.
To see if he can pull off sand casting in beach sand, like the Mesopotamians, Tom has devised a test.
Oh. What's happened is the water in the sand, when the molten aluminium has touched it, it's kind of instantly evaporated and turned to steam, and then that's to create this nice bubble effect. I anticipated this problem, and I've actually brought some sand to the beach.
Tom's using dry sand and sandwiching his intricate impeller imprint in between 2 wooden cases.
So,
he's got to get this right, because his impeller has to shift 11,000 litres of air per minute.
oh God.
That is steaming.
Yeah. So if this has worked, this is the thing which is going to make my hover mower hover. Whoa.
What are you thinking?
I'm thinking it might have worked. The metal is like, look, it's a disc. No way! No way! Check it out! Oh man! That is beautiful! From sand and old aluminium scrap, I have recycled that into an impeller for a hover mower. Like the FA Cup.
Tom's off to a flying start and created an impressive impeller. Now he needs to make a steel blade that will spin at 175 miles per hour. To make his blade, Tom has travelled deep underground to gather iron-rich rock called iron ore. Iron has been mined in the UK for millennia, and 2,000 years ago the Romans invaded, in part to control Britain's rich mineral resources. So Tom is going to use a technique dating back to Roman times to transform his raw rock into usable metal. Every now and then Tom needs a little bit of help, so he's heading for his mum's back garden to build a furnace.
Hi Mum!
Lovely to see you.
Yeah!
That actually was my very good suitcase.
I had to use it to get, you know, it still works as a suitcase.
Oh,
though.
it does not without his handle, you idiot.
In this homemade furnace, Tom is heating his iron ore to 1,000 degrees, and smelted iron blooms should sink to the bottom.
Jesus, it's going to be hot.
In Roman times, feeding this furnace would have been back-breaking work, so Tom has some modifications to speed the process up. It takes 7 hours and an iron will, but eventually he creates iron blooms, a spongy mix of iron and impurities called slag. Tom's got his work cut out if he's going to turn this into a steel blade. Steel is the backbone of the modern world. It's inside buildings, bridges, cars. Across the globe, 1.3 billion tonnes are now produced every year. We now make in minutes more steel than the Roman Empire ever produced. But whilst steel has ancient roots, metals like the high-strength, low-alloy steel found in today's cars are new innovations. Tom's blade needs to spin faster than the eye can see. But making steel the Roman way isn't easy, so Tom's come to a blacksmith's forge.
Have you done this before? You mean, have I forged the blade of a lawnmower before? No, I've never done that before.
Tom needs to turn his bloom into pure iron by getting rid of the impure slag. And he needs to add carbon in the form of charcoal because steel is an alloy of iron and carbon. To do this, he heats the forge to 1,200 degrees.
And it needs to get to like a yellow heat.
Next, he needs to hit his mix of spongy iron and slag in just the right way. Too hard, and it will disintegrate. Too soft, and impurities won't be forced out.
I'm trying to bash out the slag.
It takes nerves of steel, but Tom is making progress.
Yeah, look at that! It's totally flattening. It's good. Check that out. That is metal. Cool.
Incredibly, steel production techniques didn't change much from Roman times up until the Industrial Revolution. And it was only in the mid-19th century that Sheffield mills started to mass-produce steel.
Just trying to like lengthen it a bit. I think it's all right.
Painstakingly and inch by inch, Tom bags together lumps of pure metal to make the beginnings of a blade.
Getting there. I mean, this is it. Like, this is like, you know, rock from the ground to tool. That's hot. That is a thing of beauty.
Tom has crafted his very own steel blade, totally from scratch. Over the past 2 weeks, Tom's sandcast impeller has been a flying success, and he's forged a steel blade from raw rock with cast iron confidence. But will his homemade mower ever take off?
Excuse me, sir, would you mind not walking on the grass?
I'm not allowed to step on the grass. I brought a lawnmower, which I made myself.
Sorry, can you just get off?
Tom Thwaites is on a mission to make a hover mower from scratch. Now he needs to make the body of the device, and it needs to be light and incredibly strong. So for Tom, the best case scenario is to replicate a composite material discovered in Britain in the 1960s. Carbon fibre reinforced plastic is used to build Formula One racing cars and the latest generation of passenger jet aircraft. These machines are built by combining bendy strands of carbon fibre with sticky plastic resin. This gives a fantastic strength-to-weight ratio that's 5 times better than steel. And to make his homemade composite material, Tom needs to gather thousands of super thin, lightweight strands that are as strong as steel.
Haircuts? Not today, but I was wondering if you've got any, could I have some hair? If that's okay by you. It's not for anything weird, it's not for any voodoo stuff.
You can. My hair, I'll sweep it up into that corner over
wicked.
there. If you want to have a little look.
Thanks. Oh yeah, loads. Wicked.
Yeah.
Nice. This is good stuff, man.
It is.
It's exactly what I needed.
Take care.
To create a super strong, lightweight case for his hover mower, Tom must now carefully build up multiple layers of home-cooked resin and interweave it with strands of human hair. He starts by shaping the first layer on the top of a homemade wooden mould.
This is a lady who must have had one of those just take it all off days.
This may look ridiculous, but the Victorians used horsehair in plaster. And the protein keratin, the key component in hair, is incredibly strong. In theory, the average head of hair could pull 12 tons if the scalp was strong enough.
This is good. I think it's going to go. I think it's going to work.
Do you think you use too much hair?
We'll just have to wait and see, basically. I mean, I could be using just the right amount of hair. I mean, you can't just have glue.
So what's going down now?
I've left my bio resin to set, and it's sort of hard. Now I'm going to try and lift the fibre reinforced polymer, basically the hair and the other gloop, off my former, and then hopefully I'll get a kind of bowl shape which will then form the casing of my hover mower.
It's a sticky situation, but Tom won't give up.
Oh dear. I may have stuck it to the table. I basically stuck everything. Oh man, it's totally solidly stuck. Basically stuck a load of hair to my kitchen table as well. Okay. Right, that's that done.
This is just his first layer. With 8 more in place, Tom can finally rest his case.
That is solid and hairy.
In 4 weeks, Tom's made a lightweight composite body, a steel blade, and a perfect impeller. And once assembled, together with his other homemade components, his machine is ready for its maiden test flight. And the runway Tom has chosen is one of Britain's finest lawns.
This must be it. This is where I'm gonna cut some grass. Cool, look at that.
This is Ham House, a National Trust treasure. From a distance, Tom's creation looks out of this world and comes with a unique uniform.
What's this for?
Health and safety. Basically to stop my legs getting cut off if the blade kind of spins off.
Is that what the cricket pads are as well?
Yeah. And the gloves, I'm a bit worried about getting electrocuted.
Excuse me, sir, would you mind not walking on the grass?
I'm not allowed to step on the grass.
Would you mind not walking on the grass?
I was going to cut the grass for you. I brought a lawnmower, which I made myself.
Sorry, can you just get off?
But look,
Sorry, can you just get off
I
the
wouldn't
grass
touch
and then
that, by the way, sorry.
Can we-
It's mildly dangerous.
Okay, would you mind moving it off the grass
Well-
and then we can talk about this?
I mean,
What is it?
it's a lawnmower, you see, and it's a lawnmower that I made myself from scratch. I cast the aluminium part on a beach. The shell is a fibre reinforced plastic, the fibre being human hair.
Hi, Francesca. Did you hear any of that?
Tom is only a radio call away from being evicted. But like many of us perhaps, the estate manager is unable to turn down the chance to see a man chop his own legs off.
we can go into this area here. Didn't you see the sign when you came in?
Oh yeah. Sorry, I must have missed it.
Yeah. So we could do it somewhere in here.
Okay.
What about sort of here or something? Is that,
Yeah. Yeah. Can I get any power from anywhere?
Yeah.
It's a bit scary because mains voltage can kill you.
Tom's insulating himself against the risk of instant death with some white plastic tubing. To keep things manageable, Tom is using parts from the mower he bought and took apart 4 weeks ago. That device cost him £60. This hairy craft has cost over £1,000.
Is that live?
Yeah, that is now live. So Ben, I think you should stand well back as well because this is the moment of truth. Okay. It's working! It's hovering, but not very high.
Weeks of hard work seem to be finally paying off.
It's kind of all over the place, but it's cutting grass. Stand back, Jenny!
Come over, you need to stop!
Nothing is going to stop Tom now. He is convinced he can mow the entire lawn.
This is amazing! Oh my god! Oh my god, it's smoking! Why is it smoking? Oh no! It's smoking! Ah! Oh god! What's happening? Oh Jesus Christ! Ah! This is just insane! Oh! It's on fire! Oh god! It's on fire! Oh.
Tom's chariot of fire is a hit, and he's never been happier.
I've left a swathe of cut grass in my wake. Look at this! See? This, my friend, is cut grass. The blade, which I hammered out at the blacksmith, that worked. The impeller, which I cast on the beach in aluminium, that worked. And my personal favourite, the hair reinforced plastic casing, that worked. A success.